Happy Wednesday. Except it's Monday. Or is it Tuesday? What day is it? Oh, it's Tuesday. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. My name is Jim. Hope you guys are all happy. Happy post-Valentine's Day. Up specs. On here. As the mic picks up my audio. Let me know if the music's too loud. Let me know if I'm too loud. Alright. So, welcome to the stream, everyone. First of all, happy Tuesday. You guys missed last night. So, for those of you that weren't here, last night I kind of randomly decided, I don't think it was because I was lonely. I just was like painting and I was like, well, it's either listen to an audiobook or do something else while I paint. So I thought I would just jump on stream, and I figured, being Valentine's Day, keep some of the lonely nerds company, including myself. Then we did a 4.5-hour stream last night, which is the longest stream that I've done in a very long time. Actually, I think it's the longest stream I've ever done by myself. That was like really fun. We talked about a million trillion different things. Autofocus on. My stabilizer's on. Yeah. All right. So, with that said, yeah, it was a super fun stream. I went through, like, talked about a million different things. Some controversial, some not. Had a really great time with everyone. We kind of talked about cheating, and we talked about Valentine's Day and my stalkers and all sorts of fun stuff. Eldar. So if you guys are bored and want to definitely go check it out, throw a like on the comments, channel, whatever. What do we got here today? So I did lie a little bit. I said I'm working on a wave serpent, which is a true, not a complete lie, but I want to finish this Spirit Seer, who's like so nearly done, because I've been working on him today. So I'll just kind of give you guys an update on how this guy's looking. So this guy, basically, I worked mostly on stream yesterday. I think the last thing you guys saw me do was the helmet. I did a bit of an airbrush on the helmet. And basically, it's basically done. I just got to do the base. And then I'm going to do, there's 2 rings on his finger, which you can't see, but I'm going to paint those, and I'm going to do the base. So very quickly, I'm going to do that while we kind of get everyone loaded in here. And then once everyone's loaded, we'll get into the wave serpent, which I'm excited to paint, because I've never actually painted an Eldar tank. So this is going to be an experiment in a lot of different, I guess an experiment in a lot of different things. Because I had some ideas about how I wanted to do this thing. And I'm not really sure which direction I'm going to go with it, because there's a lot of different ways to paint Eldar tanks. I think that's one of the cool things about Eldar tanks, as far as I'm concerned, is it's kind of like chaos in a lot of ways. Like, you can do kind of really crazy different patterns and stuff, whereas I kind of feel like with Imperium you're a little bit more limited. I don't want to listen to I don't want to listen to I don't want to listen to lo-fi. It's gonna get sleepy. So what I'm finding, and what's cool about Eldar tanks is, or Eldar so far, is like the paint schemes and options to like do different things is like almost as varied and like wide as Chaos. Like, and I always thought one of the things I liked about Chaos was that you kind of do whatever you wanted and people couldn't really say anything. But a lot of people kind of do whatever the fuck they want with Eldar too. Like, I've seen all the weird galaxy tanks, I guess that's how you call them. I've seen things with like stars and moons and space and planets and all sorts of stuff with like weird camera patterns and I don't know, it just feels like Eldar also definitely, I definitely underappreciated how many different Eldar kind of I guess variations there were out there. Specs, what's going on with you, man? You guys are in Twitch chat, make sure you say hello. Makes me feel slightly less lonely. That's all you say, one hello, and then you peace out. That's cool. That makes me feel slightly less yes. I'm the only guy, but alright. So what I'm gonna do here is I want to pick out the rings. I think I'll just do them in red to keep it simple. Nice. What is the D&D character? Like, is it for is it like your D&D character for like a campaign, or is it like a D&D character? Hold on, man. See how fucking tiny these rings are. They're like literally the tiny. I don't usually use auto zoom for the autofocus because it kind of can be a little bit annoying. I turn my hat. I've noticed really wear a hat on stream, not backwards, because sometimes the brim of my hat pops into the frame. Around. Yeah, I just literally said I shouldn't wear my hat as you were typing that, Ariel. I said as I was typing that, I was like I should wear my hat front forward because it gets in frame a little bit. I could probably bring my camera a little bit closer. Let's see here. It's harder to do, but that way I can't zoom out as much. It kind of feels like it's in my face. Claustrophobic from it. Little ring. Look at those rings. Look at these rings. Come on, man. Someone's gonna steal that shit. So, anyways, thanks everyone for joining me last night. Last night was actually super fun. Today, I worked on this guy off stream most of the day, and I'd like to finish him quickly. I wasn't even gonna paint this guy like next. I just felt like, you know why? You know what is good about my painting approach? Guilt. So guilt is a very powerful motivator. Yeah, so the staff is basically from the back part is the regular Farseer staff, but the front is from the Neferatu, I think is the name of the chick. She's the Mortarch from Age of Sigmar. Well, I guess Warhammer Fantasy at the time when I bought the kit. She was one of Nagash's lieutenants. And it came with up to, it was three optional riders. There was a Manfred version, a Neferatu or whatever her name is version, and then there was a Blood Dragon version, I think. And I actually bought the kit in like when it came out in like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And what I did was I used the kit as a Chaos Lord on Dragon. So I converted up the beast to carry. I put Balrog wings on it from the plastic Balrog, and then I converted it up for Chaos. So I had the riders. I never ended up using the riders because I just ended up basically tossing in a bit spin. And so when I was looking for a staff, because I don't actually have any Eldar bits because I haven't really played Eldar, right? So normally I would probably have some Eldar bits that I could kind of use instead. But in this case, I didn't have any Eldar bits. So basically I was like, well, what's kind of cool looking in my bits box? And that's kind of what I found, so. I'm gonna add a little bit more orange to these things. I don't know, sometimes these this like rune stuff, it's like a little bit not always happy with it. Sometimes it feels a bit too red. Sometimes a bit too orange. Getting it right. Okay, I think that's basically the model, minus the base, which we're working on right now. But I guess the question is, what do you guys think? Do you think I should... So like, it's supposed to be a Spirit Seer, and they have smooth kind of me see. Let me pull up the spirits here from Games Workshop's website. And the reason I didn't, I changed the spear to a staff is because spirit seers obviously don't have singing spears, I think that's what they're called. There's no porn. So if you look at the spirit seer, he's just got like a blank face, right? But like, that's kind of lame, right? And he's got a staff instead of a spirit seer. So I was trying to do that, basically. That was kind of what I was trying to create out of an extra model that I wasn't normally going to use. The question is like, do I do a rune? Do you think I should do a rune, like a transfer on there? Or do you think I should just kind of leave it like that? It kind of looks a little bit plain. So I was thinking maybe I do like a waterside transfer. Right? So like, what would be good? I'm just going to talk for a second. I don't know what would be good. Any recommendations? Because I think it's blue. So I would want to do either a white. I think white would be too... I think I do a yellow one on it. But like there's really no other yellow on the model, right? Do I just leave it blank? What's the call, guys? The call. It just feels weird having a completely blank face, you know? Like there's something missing. I need some advice. I don't want to ruin it with yeah. I don't want to ruin it with a transfer. Or is there some other design I could do that would make it look really cool? You guys think I should leave it? I trust you guys. Okay, so I'll leave it for now, and like worst comes to worst, I can always come back to it and like I can always come back to it and like do it later. Okay. I'll set that aside to dry. Yeah. I guess it just feels like it's missing something. JXF016. Beginner concepts. Not really, man. It's pretty easy army to play. It's pretty like one-dimensional, I guess, in a lot of ways. I'd say just make sure you have lots of Terminators. The army is not in a great place, to be honest, as far as like power level right now. It just received some nerfs from chapter approved, which I'm hoping they kind of reverse. I would just go vehicle heavy right now. Kind of your best and only bet. Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, you know, it'd be cool. Like, I do like I like how like intense the blue is. Do you think I should maybe do like a very subtle pattern in it, even? Or maybe like a rune down at the bottom, or something like straight out of the like I could do something like this. Like leave this top part the same. I don't know. I think I can leave it for now. I think that's the best bet. Anyways, that's the spirits here, basically done. I'm just gonna do the base here. Waiting on. Then we will get into some things. JX, what do you have so far for your Death Guard? I'd say like the problem with Death Guard right now is like everything that was good they've nerfed, and like vehicles are just in a bad place, which is like the only good part, and none of their vehicles get Legion traits, which is like really sad. Really. Okay, so I'll let that dry for now. Let's get into some airbrushing. Alright, so I have the thing. Whoop. So basically what I did, for those of you that were here yesterday, I did a bunch of sub-assemblies with this thing. And let's put the paints away. I really don't like it when I have a lot of paints on my my desk. I like to keep it fairly clean, so I'll just keep the ones that I'm gonna probably work with today. After every like day, I like to put all my paints away, keep my desk clean. I don't like it when there's like a trillion paints everywhere. It's the ones I need. So that'll need. Yeah, because I also, my desk is also my computer desk, so if there's like too much shit scattered on it, it gets really annoying. Okay. What do we got is the Wave Serpent. I can't remember what's going on. I got all the gubbins, so I'm just gonna build it. I think what I'm gonna do is basically, for those of you that weren't here, I magnetized it yesterday. I'll show you guys kind of what I did for magnetization. So I have the resin base. This is a 60 mil. I don't think the flying stands are actually true 60 mil. I think they're like 58 mil or something, but I use a 60 mil stand. Piece of plastic tube and a big fat magnet there. And then I put a big fat magnet there. So that's like the bottom magnet. And then I have the turret, which is magnetized like that. And then for the guns, basically the bottom gun is magnetized like that. Cool. And then the side guns are magnetized. Basically the way they're designed is they click on like that, and then you can add in the panels, outside panels, and like that. That goes on there. So I'm gonna build it and paint this original one with bright lances. These are Wave Serpent. I'm gonna build this original one with the these weapons, but I probably will. One of the things that I find is like painting a bunch of weapons in the middle of this project is gonna like make me feel really discouraged and like not super excited to paint it. So instead of like painting 7 weapon variants that I end up only ever using one, I'm gonna just paint the bright lances for now. And then when the book comes out, if I find out like let's say the shurikens or one of the other options is more powerful, I will go and paint those instead. Okay, so let's get the airbrush, the old airbrush. I've already switched out the needle for this. So yesterday, if you guys were here when I was airbrushing the head of this guy, I put in the 0.25 needle, but I already went and switched back this to my I think it's 0.35 or I'm not actually sure. What is it? 0.2 is this one. I think the other one is 0.35. Needle. So it's a slightly bigger needle. It's good for like more base coating and stuff. And what I think I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna do all the magnetizations like parts separate. But what I think I want to do is, and this is kind of where like I think planning out the paint before you do it is a good idea. So like I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the majority of the body be the so the underside I'm gonna do the bone. So I know a lot of Eldar tanks, they do the kind of like bone. Is it Infinity? Yeah, it's an Infinity. It's the Cult of Paint one from their Kickstarter. It's just the front is super faded because I left it in like my cleaner for like 2 days without taking it out, and it like ate away at all the it ate away at all the oh my god, I just went to drink some beer and I almost drank my cleaner, airbrush cleaner. Yeah, whatever the default Infinity one is. But I think I'm gonna do the bottom, that traditional bone color, because I do like that kind of contrast aesthetic. Weird mold line here. But I want to do the top the proper way, or the blue. So I think I'm gonna do blue. Well, like I want to do a really, I don't know. The question is do I, okay, so here's the question, guys. Do I do like an inside out? So for each panel, do I do like dark in the center and then it fades out to light blue so that like each panel is kind of its own highlight, where I highlight up to the edges? Or do I do more of like a whole tank, a bigger blend where it's like much darker at the back and it gets lighter at the front? And it's like the blend basically, the gradient basically goes along the whole tank. You know what I'm saying? Because like traditionally, I think a lot of people would do this. Like they would take like a panel like this. I'll zoom in so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So they take like a panel like this, and they would like have it like dark in the middle, and then towards the edges it'd be light. But what I was thinking is maybe I do almost like the whole tank where it's like dark all the way up to light. Almost like the gradient is like the whole length. And then I just, you know what I'm saying? The other option is to do, because there's certain parts, like for instance, like one thing I do know is like certain panels. Let me think of a panel, for instance. What do you guys think? Across the whole tank. Let me see. Grave serpent. Grave serpent. See if I can find something that I'm talking about. So there's basically like something like this. That's more of like a full body fade, right? I don't like it, it's a little boring. There's something like this. Do you think we just YOLO it, guys? Like, oh yeah, so it's something like this, right? So this would be like a full body fade. This would be like a full body fade. So I'm thinking going like really dark here. Hey, Hekon, how's it going? And then all the way up to light, and then pick out these guys in like a contrast, like the bone. That would be more of a full body fade. But then there's this style. Mind. That's kind of cool, actually. That one. This is actually really cool looking. Check this out. It's like glowing. Like this is more the traditional style, where it's like each panel is kind of its own highlighted. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I like that. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna believe in you guys. We're gonna go full body fade. One sec. Let's do some fading. Right. Yeah, okay, so what we're gonna do, here's what we'll do. See, the problem is I can't really test it on anything. And the question is I think what I need to do is I need to do the bottom first anyways, because I'd imagine I do the bottom and then I tape it off, right? That I feel like I'm so dumb. I'm like, how do I paint? I don't know how to paint tanks. I feel like I do the bottom first, so let's do that. Let's get that out of the way. I feel like that's gonna be a bit more boring, but we got to get that bottom done first. Or do I do the top first and tape it off? What's the right move, guys? Bottom first or top first? I think I do the bottom first, yeah? Because if I tape off the bottom, basically all I have to do is tape off like, I don't know. I'm gonna do the bottom first. My gut says do the bottom first, Jim. Let's follow my gut. So for this, I'm using Desert Yellow from Army Painter. I'm probably gonna regret because it doesn't actually cover that well, but I've been using that for the whole army, so yellow. Desert Yellow. Got lots of it. And then I need my Pale Yellow. Rock Roll, 3 drops. I want this quite dark to start because obviously base coat. Want it darker than that? I think so. A little darker. 4 drops. I lost the lid from my airbrush. I know you can order one. I'm always sketched out when I'm like base coating because it's like spilling everywhere. Make a bit of spatter. There we go. Okay, so hopefully this is not too loud on the airbrush. I do have let me know if you guys it's annoying on the mic because I do have a gate, but it might not be good enough. I think it's spattery, which I don't like. Usually that means either it's not thin enough or I don't have enough pressure. So I'm going to turn up the pressure a bit. Okay, let's try this. All right, so I'm gonna give it a little bit to dry before I go back in again, just because it's getting a little thick in some areas and I need to get closer with the airbrush. So I'm just gonna give that a bit to dry. But basically what I'm going for is like Yeah, it's like that's as kind of dark as I want. And then I'm gonna go up much lighter, but I either spilled some water or did something to it, because there's a little I don't know, there's like weird water there. So leave that to dry for a sec. We're gonna go back to our computer here. His base. Blue on his base. I feel like, I don't know why in my head I thought this tank would paint up really quick, because like obviously it's really smooth. It's like there's not much going on there, but like in my head I was like, oh, it'll be like painting a rhino, you know? I painted a lot of rhinos and those paint up like super quick with the airbrush. But as I'm doing this, I'm just like realizing like how much detail there's on it, and that it's definitely not a rhino, and I don't think it's gonna paint up like a rhino. That should be interesting. And I haven't even touched the like turrets and stuff, which I don't think the turrets, well, the turrets are top side, so they're not going to need any of the fade. And I might hand paint parts of those anyways. Oh my god. This is literally, I got my beer, my airbrush water, and my actual paint water, and I almost just put my paint in the paint water. This, I really don't like this, this desert yellow from Army Painter. It doesn't cover very well. I might, as a cheat code, put a little bit of dark golden brown from Pro Acryl in, just to like give it a bit of oomph. This color. Let's see here. And then just kind of cancel that out with some of the pure yellow Pro Acryl. Let's see what that makes. That's like similar-ish. The airbrush feels like it's not really opening up fully. Weird. Alright guys, I'm just gonna keep shut up while I airbrush, because otherwise if I talk you'll hear the airbrush. Why not put my other model so close to airbrush? Yeah, I just cleaned it right before I did this, but I'll take another look in a sec. Could just be my imagination. I mean, it is the under side of the tank anyways, so it's not the end of the world. Pretty solid, right? Like, I used to not have an airbrush. Well, I bought an airbrush I think like 5 or 6 years ago, but for like the longest time, I'd say probably like 15 years, I was like exclusively a brush painter. And I used to be a little bit like snobby when it came to people that airbrush. And I think it's partly because like, airbrushing in the past, like the technique was very like everything looked airbrushed. Like a lot of commission painters would do like airbrushed stuff, and it just looked really bad. It looked like super obviously airbrushed, and I never used to like it. So I was always like a bit of a snob when it came to airbrushing. But then I finally bought my airbrush in like, I want to say, I don't know, a year into 8th edition, I think. I bought my airbrush, and like, I was like, how did I, because I wanted to do a tank, right? Because when I used to play fantasy, we didn't really have tanks, right? And so I never felt like I needed an airbrush. Like even dragons and stuff I do by hand, large monsters and stuff. But when I started playing 40k and I had to paint vehicles, I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I'll buy an airbrush. I got this same compressor, is my same compressor I've had for like 6 years. That's been great. And then I had a Iwata Eclipse, I think was my very first airbrush. It was like 120 bucks. And I remember being like, how did I, after I got it, I was like, how did I ever not have this? Anything else that you like airbrush? Just that. And now I like can't live without it. I couldn't imagine painting without my airbrush. Yeah, it was my first airbrush. I still have it. And in fact, in a lot of ways, I actually liked it better than my I have an Infinity now. And I got it as part of their Cult of Paint Kickstarter. It was like 100 and, I think it was like 200 bucks, expensive at the time. And it's definitely like fancier. But personally, I find that the thing I liked about the Eclipse was like, it was really simple construction. And like, it didn't really like jam that much. I find my Eclipse, it's definitely, although it's got more like precision, it's definitely like more finicky, I guess, which I don't necessarily love. Let's get the letters for the base here. Are you dry? Kind of wash. Do the base is really simple. It's just basically bleach bone on the like 2 coats, bleach bone on these, and then I do a very thin down flesh wash from Army Painter. And again, the only reason I'm really using flesh wash is because I have 3 pots of it that I've like won over the years. I'm trying to like find a use for it. It's not because it's like particularly specific. And then I do, once it's dry, I'll go back over it with the bone. And then I'll pick out all the bone and some white to highlight the... Do you think I need to tape this? Like, do you think I should tape it for the... Yeah, right? Because I think if I try to paint it... Like, I want these engines to stay this bone color. So I think I need to tape it a little bit. Okay, so let's go in with another layer of paint. This time a little bit brighter. I'm going to do a lot of this stuff. This. Here. What's that look like? Oh, that's way too dark. Yeah, I think it's a little dark. I need to order some more Pro Aquarel paints because I feel like I've been using the same 3 colors for this army and I'm gonna run out. No. Nice thing about we're basically doing almost like a Zenithal highlight. But I don't need to really go overboard because it's on the underside. Like I'm definitely gonna go and pin wash the insides a bit. Might be actually a good use for some oil paints. I'm just worried about oils, that's gonna make it look too messy. That basically. Let's take a look. Right, like I don't want it to be too like I don't know why I'm even highlighting this. It's gonna basically be this color with a little bit of shading, I think. But I think if I do shading, I need to kind of go into it by hand. Yeah, you're right. I'm muted. Sorry. I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't think I go much, like, brighter than that because, like, I get that I want to keep it highlighted, and I'm definitely going to highlight, like, the blonde parts that are blonde. The bone parts, I guess, that are sticking out. Like this and this. But I don't want to go too bright with, like, the underneath highlights, right? Because it doesn't really make sense. like maybe there and there because the light catches, and like this guy. And like the guns. And then like obviously like the edge here. The door. But I feel like that's like, it's not going to be a ton of, I don't know. I'm like kind of stuck on this. I'm like, I think what I want to do now is go in with like a really, 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 really thin, dark glaze, and basically glaze in with my airbrush into like the corners, like really carefully. You guys know what I'm saying? So like almost like glaze into the shadows now that the majority of the base coating is done. And then I think I tape at that point. Because ideally, I imagine what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to do all the airbrushing, and then I'm going to go in and paint it by, like, finish it by hand. So yeah, so let me do that next. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out my paint, my airbrush, my toxic green goop. I think I go in with like a really, really thin, super thin wash here, and just paint in some shadow, basically like almost underpainting. This is how I clean my airbrush kind of while I'm in a session. Backflow. All right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create like a super thin glaze. So this will be my airbrush thinner. This will be quite dark. I think I'll go in with this color. And this will be mostly thinner. Very little paint. So it's like super, super thin. Okay, like that. Then what I want to do okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn down the pressure on this. Okay, so I'm gonna turn down the pressure on this so I can get like super close to it. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so basically with the low pressure, I can kind of get in. I don't know if you guys can pick that up on the camera at all. But basically, just really low pressure, painting into like the cracks, the dark spots. that. Because I will go back to some brush and kind of highlight it a little bit. But it's just like super thin, this paint. To kind of like build some shadow. Like that. That makes sense. Good. The key here though is like really low pressure and really thin paint, because if you have too low pressure, or if your paint's too thick at this low pressure, it won't come out. And if you're trying to get really close to it and your paint's high pressure is too high, it's gonna spider. You kind of have to go kind of like ultra extreme on both ends. That's good. Like that. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? How's that look? Added a little bit of darkness, and then I think I do go in. I guess I could go back with the airbrush and kind of be really careful with the highlights again. But I think I'm better off just doing it with my hand, like much later. An intruder. Yeah, like so. Right? Like, you're not gonna really see this part, right? Most people? Am I being crazy? Is this overkill? Let's see. Then I guess what I could do, go in with my like actual color, my blonde, and basically do the opposite of that, right? So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with some like straight of yellow. Let's see here. And just go like super thin, but like the opposite basically. Actually, that's not gonna work. I need some dark color. Too thin. I need basically my mid-tone back because I've fudged it up with pressure. I'm like operating at like really low PSI. Now I'm just kind of doing the opposite what I did, where I'm going back over the like surfaces with like that like a lighter color. But again, low PSI, very, very thin. Probably kind of pointless, to be honest, but makes me feel like I'm doing lots. Makes me feel good. Sometimes painting is about just doing things that make you feel like you did the work, even if in the end, like, the effect is negligible or unnoticeable. I think some of this stuff I'm going to paint dark anyways, right? Alright, you guys get it? Anyone there? Oh, are you there, Mark? Alright, let's see here. Alright, I think I'm going to call that for now on this step. And I'm going to give it a sec to dry. This is not quite done yet. Because I'm going to basically, I think at this point, I'm going to tape it. I think that's all the airbrush are going to do to the bottom. Yeah, well, the answer is I probably wouldn't. Or, I know that's a shitty answer. I'd probably get a spray. If I was gonna do this by brush, I don't know. I don't know how I would do it because I feel like, yeah, okay, I feel better. I'm like very like neurotic about like, even if shit people can't see it. Alright. It's easy. Yeah, I always paint belt buckles and stuff like that too, so I feel ya. So by brush, I don't know. I mean, I think you just got to go super, like I'd say get a big brush and almost do like, I did that once, Laminator. I'm gonna change the music. I think the music is giving me anxiety. Like poppy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this sit for a bit. We're gonna test. I'm gonna do like a test fade on like some of the other pieces, so you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about, as far as like the fade. But in the meantime, let's get this guy just quickly finished. I almost airbrushed him because he was like kind of off to the side. I think with brush, like, to be honest, I would just go like, I think it's just gonna take you a lot of time to like a lot of really thin coats. And what I would do is I'd probably build it up from like almost like a dry brush. or like a wet brush. That makes sense. I'm gonna paint the rims on this while I'm waiting because I'm impatient. The one thing that it's like a bit of a tip is I always paint my rims with rather just black paint. I think I've probably said this before. I use like primer, so this is like my Pro Acryl primer, and I just do two coats on the rims. I just find because you're gonna be handling the rims is like and it's gonna see kind of wear and tear. It definitely I guess it's nice to have that extra bit of like toughness from the primer. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a bit of my this might seem weird. This is a bit of my like Airbrush soap water, and I'm just gonna like clean the outside, because what I find as well is like when you're painting these models, you handle them quite a bit and so your oils on your hand can get all over the rim, and then when you go to like actually do the rim job, like it doesn't really stick very well. One thing I usually do is I'll take like a little soapy water and I'll actually just like clean the outside of my, like almost wash the outside of my bases. And it seems like a bit extra, but what it does is all the oils from handling it while you're painting it. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna paint the details on mine, Alfred. Like, I'm not saying I'm not. But then that way, I'm just gonna give it a sec to dry. But yeah, definitely like if you've been this has been in a brush holder, but obviously this is a resin base, so the resin also has like a little bit of it's definitely been handled. So just cleaning it first, it just helps the primer adhere a little bit better. And you're gonna get base rims that like, because I don't know if you guys have had like models that you've played with a lot. You'll notice like the base rims start to kind of wear off, especially if it's not like a black natural. Or even if it is, it kind of wears down to the plastic. So just a small tip, helps your models base rims last longer. And you can see here, like it's like pretty thin, this coat. It's actually liquid rubber on my bases. What's that, Chris Cole? Excuse me, guys. I've never heard of that. Yeah, like I think for mine, for the bottom of mine, like I'm definitely gonna paint all the piping. I don't know, I'm holding it off camera. I'm definitely gonna paint all the piping different color, like pick out these pipes. I'm definitely gonna pick out like obviously the gems. There's some wiring here. I'm definitely gonna like hand shade these like really dark recesses. Like I'm gonna go in with like a really dark, I might even pull the oils out for it and go in and like basically pin wash along there. My biggest conundrum right now is these engine casings, because I don't want to do them metal. In fact, in this entire Eldar army, I'm not planning to use any metallic paint whatsoever. So none of the models I've painted so far have any metallic paint on them. And so my thoughts are, I might go back and paint it the kind of gray color, like this kind of gray that I have on like the gloves and stuff. I might do that for the engine casings by hand, or I might leave it bone and highlight it up to bone, like, because a lot of the stuff is wraith bone. I'm not sure yet. It's something to think about, I guess. Yeah, the other thing I also do is like if I'm painting so what I usually do with like my when I base is like I glue down, I do PVA. Well, I don't use PVA, I use, I guess, Gorilla Glue, which is PVA, but it's like super thick and super strong. But then after the sand is dried, I go over it with the black primer. It's like a polyurethane. I think it's polyurethane. Water-based acrylic. But I don't think it's quite like it's got some extra juice in it. So usually what I do is I'll go back over it with that versus just like black paint. And that kind of helps seal in the sand a bit better than like if I just use like Abaddon Black or something like that. I know a lot of people go back over it with like glue a second time, but I generally find that's a bit overkill. Personally. I just kind of go pops, load again. I'm pretty happy with how this guy turned out. I started him last night, right? And I finished him today, basically. I don't even know. Does anyone... Okay, so as an Eldar dummy, can anyone tell me what Spirit Seers do currently? Or is it Spirit Seers or Singers? Am I getting him confused? What were the ones in Dawn of War? Remember the ones in Dawn of War? They like were singers or whatever, spirit singers, and they used to like conjure up like your buildings in Dawn of War 1. What's a Spirit Seer? Like, what's the difference between a Spirit Seer, say, and a Warlock? And my Eldar people? I literally don't know. I have no idea. Chris, bro, it's... I mean, if we didn't have a pandemic, I'd love to come out there, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. So our border restrictions are just getting loosened at the end of this month. So I'm hoping to travel a bit more for U.S. events. Bone Singers. That's what they were. Thanks, Good Power. So if you guys are wondering what Chris Cole's talking about, I went down to California for a work convention, and I like for a weekend, and I happened to bring my army, and there was a event happening at the Dice Hammer guys through an event, and I attended, and I ended up winning the event. And then I just never went back. Actually, you want to hear a funny story about that, Chris? So I won. I'm really stupid. I won this like figure case. I don't know the brand, but it was like one of those figure cases with the glass door. Table War, I think. I think it was Table War that makes those big cases, right? So it's like fairly large case, and I think at the time, I forget who the organizer was. His name's slipping my mind, but he was like, oh, like, do you want, like it was like the top prize or whatever. It was this like Table War magnetic, big carrying case with like glass door and everything. Yeah. So I won that. This is how stupid I am. And I was like, oh, I don't know. In my head, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Not really thinking like how I would get it home, right? And so then next thing I know, I have this like case, and I'm like, shit, like I don't really even need a case, and B, like, how am I gonna get this thing home? Because I flew there, right? And so I posted in our like my local, not local, but like Toronto local group, like of buddies that play. Yeah, it was Nick Card, right? Card's his last name. Nick. But yeah, anyways, so I posted like our Toronto like group of gamers. I'm like, hey guys, I won this Table War case. Does anyone want it? And I'll just like ship it to you, because like I don't think I can take it really home, and it's gonna be like it's gonna be a huge pain in the ass. So like, I don't really need it, right? So I was like, does anyone need this case? And if you guys have seen these Table War cases, they're pretty cool. They're almost like a gun case with their glass door, and then I guess you're supposed to magnetize your models, put them in. Nothing I've used. I generally use wait, I can't remember. Jesus. Pack. Wow. I have a Pack 720. Who the fuck makes those? The packs. Jesus, why is my brain not working? Yeah, anyways, doesn't matter. So I generally don't use those, right? Because they're not just magnetized. So one of my buddies in Toronto was like, yeah, I'll take the case. Battle foam. Thanks, Ariel. I'm like fucking brain dead right now. He's like, yeah, I'll take the case. I'm like, okay, how much? I'm like, I look up the retail price of the case. It's like, yeah, battle foam. I'm just like stupid today, guys. I've just had a long week of brain deading. Oh, you know why? I was raiding in Final Fantasy 14 before this, and it was like it just killed my brain a lot. Anyways, so I'm like, hey, do you want this case, to one of my buddies in Toronto? And he's like, yeah, I'll take it. And I'm like, okay, well, it's retail like, I think it's like a $250 case. Like, they're nice cases. They're really expensive. And he's like, okay, I'll pay you like 120 for it, right? I'm like, okay, no problem. And I'm like, okay, but like, you got to pay for shipping, right? I go to ship it. I'm like in some random place in LA. Like UPS ship it. They got to pack it for me. It's huge. It's heavy. And then the shipping cost, like I'd already taken his money. I was like, okay, just give me like $20 for shipping. How much could it be? The shipping to Toronto, where he lived, was like $160. And then on top of that, I had to pay like $40 duty to get it over the border. But like I'd already like shook the deal with him. I was like, I'd already taken his money, and it was like 100. It ended up costing me, just to like, obviously I honored the agreement because I made it stupidly, but like I won this thing, and then it ended up costing me like $70 on top of the sale price. So like I lost $70 from winning the event because the case that I won, I shipped all the way to Canada. And then the stupidest part was, I think Nick at one point even asked me, he's like, you just want something else? Like, do you want like another prize, like something you can take? And in my head, I was like, no, it's cool. I want the cool, like, big prize. Wasn't really thinking about it. And then in the end, it ended up costing me fucking like $70 just to like get rid of it. It was such a nightmare. Xtab, I am excited. I mean, I'd like to compete one day in Golden Demon. I know, like, I generally don't paint. This is like my opinion. I could be very wrong. Well, I have a few opinions regarding it. First of all, I want to win a Golden Demon in my lifetime, whether it's any Golden Demon. I think that's something that as a painter I want to do. Do I think I could do it right now? Maybe. So, and what I mean by that is like, my biggest problem when I paint, well, it's not a problem, it's just like my preference. I have a very like, I guess I have a very like, I guess, I don't know how to describe this, but like, there's a certain balance I like to strike between speed and quality. And although I know there's certain techniques that I can execute, or I could learn to execute, like I look at, for instance, like, and you guys will see this coming up. I'll explain it to you guys in a second. This is why I don't like the autofocus. It does this shit sometimes. Come on, focus, dum-dum. Let me just change the autofocus settings. Sometimes it's on like a weird version of autofocus. Why don't we do... There we go. Hopefully this is a bit better. Okay. So I don't usually use autofocus, but what I was gonna say is I've always been an army painter. Like I like to paint models for armies. I like to play the game, and I like to paint them at high level. Competition painting is like a whole other beast, because you'll spend 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 hours on a single model. And like, I know I could do that. Like, I'm capable, obviously. And I also feel like I'm at least good enough that if I really wanted to apply myself and really wanted to put all my ability into a single model and spend like 200, 300 hours on something, I probably could paint it good enough to win a Golden Demon. I think, anyways, this is what my head is. With two big exceptions. A, my freehand sucks. And Golden Demon, a big part of Golden Demon, especially like these days, is like freehand. And I can do very basic rudimentary freehand. But like, I could not do like some of these guys that like, that do like full fucking dioramas on like little tiny thing, or like, you know, like Richard Gray, the kind of freehand he does. It's just, it's so beyond my ability right now that like I think that alone would make it, unless I could find a model where like the freehand was not a part of it. I don't know if I could ever do that, which is unfortunate. And then the second thing is, I think right now the competition level is as good as it's ever gotten, because for a few reasons. Obviously with the internet, like just like players have gotten better because of like online coaching. Like I was talking to Alex McDougall last week on the cast. I can't remember if it was off camera or before, but we both agreed, and I don't know if you guys, the floor of like Warhammer players, like the average Warhammer player, has gotten so much it's so much higher than it was like even 5 years ago, especially with like the Goonhammers, the Art of Wars, the people doing coaching services, all these kinds of things. The ability, how easy it is to get information, look at lists, all that kind of stuff. It's meant that the average Warhammer player is like way better now than they ever were, because they have so much more like ability to like know to not just write good lists, but like watch videos on tactics, and like there's people like Art of War that do that kind of stuff, and like obviously other people as well. So like in that same vein that the players have gotten better, the painters have also gotten better, right? Because I remember when I started painting, right, there was Cool Mini or Not, there was Daka and like Warseer, and they didn't, like, YouTube didn't exist till like 2009 or something. So and painters with YouTube was not a thing. So like when you were learning to paint, you either had to learn in person or you had to like go to a big convention and like talk to someone that actually did it. Like there was no ability to like have that knowledge. Nowadays, like anyone can basically go and learn non-metallic metal or really intense hard techniques. And I just think the quality of painters has gotten, just like the quality of gamers has gotten much better in the last 10 years, the quality of painters has gotten way better. And now some of the stuff that people produce is like I look at the stuff that I don't know, there's a lot of painters that I really admire. Dave Caldwell is actually one of my favorites. And I think what I love about Dave, and if you guys haven't checked out Dave's work, it's some of my favorite work. And it's not because he does crazy freehand or he does like super insane non-metallic metal. He doesn't do those things. He executes basic techniques like color, light, and blending so perfectly and so like beautifully that like every model that every time I see a model that he's painted, I almost immediately know it's his, because his style is so distinct. He's like the one painter that I like aspire to have be closer to. He's got such a unique style, and I love the style of his painting. But even him, like, you know, he's not even like in the top echelon of like painters, right? So I just think, I guess at the end of the day, I am excited for Golden Demon. To answer your question very long, I think I'm going to be really interested to see the level of competition, because obviously the last like I don't know, 10-15 years, it's mostly been like Spanish and German and like European painters who've dominated. And obviously we've had things like the Crystal Brush here and other painting competitions, so I'm not saying that there isn't like really good painters in North America, but given the fact that Dave Caldwell, yeah, I mean, he definitely, for me, he's in the top echelon. But I think like, I don't think it's like a tech, it's like a complexity thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when I look at what, like, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think this year, maybe beyond any other year, might be the hardest Golden Demon ever to win, because if you think about it, people have had 2 years to work on entries, 2-3 years. Like usually. And people have been knowing that it's coming forever. So I kind of feel like there's a lot of people that are like gonna compete, and I think it's gonna be very, very competitive this year. So I'm looking forward to it. One day I would like to compete myself, but I'm not there yet. And I'm not there because I'm not at a point in my painting right now where I want to put that much kind of time into a single model. I'm much more interested right now in like painting an army and playing with it and like doing that than I am like painting a competition piece. Do you know what I'm saying? That makes sense? Does that answer your question? Whoever asked that question. Okay. So here's the question. Oh, we got another conundrum, my friends. Do I do the turret? Well, the turret goes like this, obviously. That's not that obvious. Turret goes like this. Okay. So I think I'm excited to see this year. I'm excited to see who wins. I'm also just excited to see the entries. Okay, but here's a question. Do I do the turret as like its own fade? Where like the body fades and then the turret has its own like independent fade? Or do I do the turret and the body as like one fade? You know what I'm saying? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? I kind of feel like I want to do its own independent fade. Like the same gradient from the back of the serpent to the front exists from the back of the turret to the front. Does that make sense? So it's almost like two separate gradients. You think I can pull that off? And it'll look good? Or do you think that's going to be distracting having like those kind of two separate components? Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, and I have an idea how I'm going to do it. Oh, shit. I'm going to have to clean off some of this paint on the canopy before I paint it. So what I'm thinking is, so I'm going to paint these kind of in a row. So let me just see this. I'm going to get some double-sided tape. Yeah, I agree, guys. Let's. You know what? What happens if I fail? I can repaint it. Okay, so let me get some tape, double-sided tape. I want these to match exactly the gradient. I'm going to paint them exactly like the same, if that makes sense. What I'm saying. I don't know. You'll understand what I'm saying in a sec. I want the gradient to be like perfectly matched between the panels and the body. Here. This. Double-sided tape and stir sticks from the hardware store are like fucking money. Okay, so and this will also be a good test of like the level of fade I want. So for instance, let's see here. Say this is gonna be like that. Like that. That's gonna be like that. I want the panel. That's where the panel is gonna sit. And I want this panel. Come on. That's gonna be like that. I want this panel to be just like that. So it's exactly the same fade. And then I want this panel, the airbrush tricks, like that. I want that to be exactly like that. I rip these things off. So like that. So that'll be my like airbrush. That'll be the positioning so that the gradient from like start to finish is the same. Does that make sense? Because I don't think it'll go as bright. I don't want them separate gradients. I don't want this dark to light and then this dark to light. I want these to feel like the same gradient as the rest, if that makes sense. I know I keep saying that makes sense and everything I'm saying is pretty straightforward, but bear with me, you know? Okay, guys almost ready. I'm gonna give it another second, a little static grasser, and it should be done. Okay, so what I'm gonna do I do want a really dark start for this. So I'm gonna basically go much darker. So like the normal shades I use inside the green is like almost it's like 2/3. It's like 2/3 of the green, which is like a little bit of the jade. But I think for this, I want to go like really, really dark on the dark, because I want it, or even if it's not for a large part of it. That makes sense. Saying. Again, I'm saying if it makes sense, but I'm kind of just thinking out loud. So heavier than green than I normal. I'll do 3 to 1 of the green to. So let's take a look. So that's quite, I guess, dark. Let's see that. I'm just going really thin here, guys, for the first few. Not bad. This is kind of the test of the whole shebang. I want it to go all the way to the yellow, right? So it's basically going lots of thin coats. Let's see. I'm gonna give that a sec to dry, because it's quite wet and it's quite thin, so I don't want it to pool. Let me just give my rim another bit of rim job. Where's my fatty brush? So we're just gonna go 3rd layer of varnish. I think I said 2, but normally I do 3. This one I do thin. Again, this is just so that, because it's going to be handled, right? These are game pieces. So I always like to have a little bit of extra. When I do varnish everything, I use Vallejo matte varnish spray, or I use Vallejo matte varnish from the little bottle. This guy. This guy. Okay, let's just hit that. Okay, so I'm gonna give that sec to dry, guys. What am I gonna do to my airbrush? I'm just gonna add some thinner. Go back in with my jade. So with these kinds of gradients in the airbrush, it's super, super important that like you keep your your paint super thin, because if you don't, you're gonna end up with like a splotchy transitions, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. So I would recommend going fairly high PSI and just testing like your spray pattern, making sure it's not too splotchy. Like in this case, if I find it's a little splotchy, I'll either turn up the pressure or I will add a bit more thinner. Alright, let's take a look. So I'm going to put my palette away, because I don't actually need it anymore for now. Get this away. Brushes fixed. Alrighty. Okay, airbrush thinner I need. White paint I don't need. This can go away. That can go away. That can go away. Black can go away. Those I need. Yellow I need. That can go away. That can go away. That can go away. White I need. That can go away. Alright, let's see here. Okay, that feels a bit better. Sorry, I was just like working in a mess, and it makes me anxious. Alright, so I got my slightly lighter color. Okay, so let's try this now. Now this paint is still a bit wet, but I'm okay with that. And don't worry if you overspray, I guess, at this point, because I can always go back and kind of reshade. I'm trying to keep the same line of like the gradient across. So this feels still quite dark, I guess, which is okay. Oops. And it's still quite wet. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, kind of hard to see. I don't know how well you guys can see the fade there, but I'm gonna kind of go bold here because I'm not happy with how fast this is blending. I want like a very, very quick gradient. Like I want it to go from like, because I'm working with such small surface areas, I can't really fuck around and do like 30 shades here, 50 shades of blue. So I think I'm gonna go YOLO here. Go straight into my bright pale green. It's like my super bright color. And see where that takes me. And if I need to, I can always go back in with a mid-tone. This Wave Serpent, I have to say, guys, already is way more... In my head, I was like, oh, fuck, man. I'm so excited to paint the Eldar tanks. They're going to take like 3 seconds. It's going to be like, boom, boom, see you later. Man, it's definitely not that. I'm going straight in with my pale green. You can see is like much, much brighter. Oh. Back. Let's see. I thought definitely this would be like a much easier situation. Not. Let's see. All right, so doing a bit of straight air just to help dry out the last layer. Yeah, these are gonna be some bright tanks, guys. Some bright ass tanks, you know? So now I want to go now I'm gonna go in with my yellow. I'm enjoying it. It's a little stressful because I don't really know. I hate having repaint stuff. Like, it's one of my like things that I really don't enjoy. I hate, like, I'd like to think that as an artist I can conceptualize something and then execute it and it's always going to be perfect. So that's obviously not the case here. And I guess that bothers me. That it's not exactly what I want when I want it. You know what I'm saying? And I also don't know, like, the final result. I don't really know how it's going to turn out, right? So there's a bit of apprehension. In that sense. And just like, yeah. Okay. Pretty intense, you know? But like, do I feel like the mid-tone, it's too dark? Like relative to the rest of the army? Or do I feel like it's too light, you know? Okay, so now I'm gonna basically do my final step on this, where I'm gonna go in with my yellow, straight yellow, gangsta yellow, just on the tips. And then obviously what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my green and I'm gonna pin wash all the panels, like in between, to kind of give them some shadow. But that should give me an idea of kind of like what I'm going for overall, I guess. Alright, let's go straight yellow. Yeah. Really makes a difference. And now That's the blend, right? You guys think it's like too... I feel like it's too hard to tell on camera because of the color balance. I think I need a bit more of my mid-tone. It's a little bit too like yellow than green. Does that make sense? Like the back is a little bit too far from the mid compared to the rest of the army. It kind of goes like straight from the yellow to the green. But I think what I need is the mid-tone. I need to kind of glaze in some of that green, I feel. Also really important, guys, when you guys airbrush, I really recommend you give it a lot of time to dry, even if it seems dry, because airbrush, the layers are so thin that like it's really easy to rub off, I find. And like it can definitely ruin a paint job when you're like kind of get ahead of yourself. Do you ever experience that? And also remember that the paints will definitely be duller after you finish. So keep that in mind as far as like your tones, that you might have to go back over an area a few times to kind of get it to the, I guess, concentration that you want. Makes sense? That's a fucking fade if I've ever seen one. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is let it dry for a sec. So that would be kind of the fade. That would be the level of fade I'm looking for, I guess. Do you think that's too crazy on each panel? Is that like too extreme? Or do you think it's gonna look really, really sick when it's done, you know what I'm saying? Thoughts? I think I'm gonna leave it for now. Let it fully dry. And then I think what I'm gonna do is thin wash it next with the dark green and pick out all the details on these little guys. And I think what that'll do is give me a better idea of like the overall look on a full tank. Because imagine this, like imagine this gradient now, but like spread out over a whole tank. So it's the same degree of gradient, where it's like that green to the yellow, but instead of it being on like that small of a surface area, it's on like a full tank. You know what I'm saying? Static grass. My favorite part because I get to pick different static grasses. I always glue my static grasses too. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I want that extra bit of oomph to keep it on, even though they're like technically self-adhesive. That kind of like interfere with it. So right here. Generally like to go a little bit overboard on these static grasses because I want it to feel very overgrown and kind of grass-like. Plus it can hide the feet, so if you do kind of a lazy job on the feet. Right, there we go. There is our spirits here. No head shit. So alright guys, it's just been about 2 hours. I think I'm gonna call it there. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I believe. Same thing. I'm gonna get some more work done on the airbrush, this part. And I'll probably post some work in progress photos. I think tomorrow, afternoon, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix up I'm gonna get the airbrush, the tank airbrush. And hopefully when you guys join me at 5 o'clock tomorrow, we can actually get into like the real painting of it. And not just all this airbrush nonsense. So I think I'll probably spend some of the day tomorrow actually figuring out like how I exactly want to paint it. But other than that, it's been a slice. Thanks everyone for joining me. I will be back tomorrow. Make sure to throw me a like, subscription, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.